China just dropped Manus, the first real general AI agent. And this isn't China's second DeepSeek moment, but it's the closest thing we've seen to autonomous AI agent. And although it's not AGI, it might be the closest glimpse of AGI in action. In this video, I'm going to break down Manus architecture and show you how it actually works. I'm going to give you a full walkthrough of the interface, and I'm going to show you exactly how I'm using it with real-world example. And I'll reveal how you can get an invite code because it's not open to everyone. And finally, I'll tell you where to learn more before everyone else catches on. So trust me, you'll want to watch until the end because this AI is different. In just 7 days, Manus got 2 million people on the wait list. And I just happened to be one of the few people that actually got access to the beta. When I joined the Discord server, there were about 80 people in the beta list. And now there are over 160 people on it. And the reason why everyone is talking about Manus is because of what you're able to do when using it. So Manus actually beat OpenAI Deep Research on the GAIA benchmark at level 1, at level 2, and at level 3. And this benchmark evaluates AI agents' ability to handle real-world problem-solving tasks. And I have to say, I was lucky enough to get access, and I was so impressed by what you're able to do with Manus. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how you can get your own invite code. But before that, don't forget to hit subscribe. I'm always surprised that over 92.8% of you don't subscribe. It's thanks to people that subscribe that I get these kind of opportunities to review AI products and AI tools. So if you guys enjoy this kind of video, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll make sure to bring you this kind of quality of content every single time. Anyone that has seen Manus has been really impressed by the kind of result that he has been able to achieve. This guy just wrote a single prompt, code a 3DS game where you control a plane. And he was able to generate this kind of output with Manus. If you guys been following, the vibe coding trend lately, people have been making games with generative AI. And with Manus, because it can take you from deep research to planning to execution, you can actually just write a simple prompt, and Manus will take care of researching how to build the game, generate the code for it, deploy it, and give you a link where you can access the game and play it. This is pretty incredible. This is not Manus. A lot of people have been sharing this video online, claiming that this is Manus doing its thing, but this is not actually Manus. Even the co-founder went on the video to say, hey, hi, co-founder of Manus here. Thanks for your interest in Manus, but this video is definitely not Manus. Because you see, Manus is not a VNC for smartphones. So it's not something that you use to control multiple phones at the same time. This is not what they're trying to do here. They're trying to do something different. One of the first prompts that I ran when I tried Manus was challenging the Manus team to generate a prompt that is able to invent an accelerated freezing machine. You see, we have microwave and ways for us to heat things faster, like an air fryer. But I always wonder, wouldn't it be amazing to have appliances in your house that allow you to freeze things instantly? And this is what I wanted to challenge Manus to figure out. So something that can freeze a drink in 2 to 3 minutes. I asked them if they could somehow create the microwave icy rival. And the result that Manus generated was pretty intriguing and interesting. And I'll show you that right now. So the cool thing about Manus is that they can actually provide you a link where you can replay an entire session and see exactly what happened as he was trying to figure out the things that he's trying to do for you. So when you execute the task with Manus, there's a recording of the entire steps. You can actually scroll back and forth and seeing exactly what he was able to do. You can even stop and jump into the sandbox because this is a sandbox that we're looking at. And this sandbox is kind of like a computer. This is what they call it, Manus computer. So you can jump into that sandbox and actually, see what Manus is doing, exactly, or you can even take over the browser, for example. If it end up, being stopped on a CAPTCHA or anything like that, you can stop the session, do what you need to do, and then let it continue and do its thing. And this is really, really cool because that allows people to do a lot of different things, right? You've seen Operator by ChatGPT. This is something similar, but what Manus done here is combining different concepts. Deep research, deep thinking, Operator, and I would say task executioner. So it's a multi-agentic process in a sense. So let's take a look at what it was able to generate. So when it generated the response for me, it generated this list of documents that has, a comprehensive research report that you're seeing over here. It also generated additional list, so I was able to see the to-do. So this is the item that it was checking as it was generating the file. There were also, key principle and mechanism because he wanted to understand, analyze what he was going to do. If you guys want to, look up the prompt, I have that on my Twitter page. So on the Twitter, I've shared the prompt right here. So you can read my full prompt and how I was able to generate that. And with that prompt, it was essentially able to figure out a way to create a machine that can be used to freeze things almost instantly. And you can see here that it has analyzed different techniques, right? Ultrasonic freezing, cryogenic freezing, pressure shift freezing, all the different things. Even look at all the different patents out there that relate to freezing to figure out what people have tried to do so far. In the end, he was able to generate a pretty comprehensive document. And then if you guys want to check this out, I'll put a link in the description below. You can take a look at what he generated. If you are an engineer or even considering building these appliances, make sure to mention us here, Manus, and the prompt engineer who created this prompt. So this is just a quick glimpse at what Manus is able to return. But this is not even scratching the surface yet, right? I'm just showing you a simple research that is similar to what you will see on tools such as Deep Research or Perplexity. So far, from a quick glance, all you see is that it has analyzed a couple of files, it has done some research, and he has edited it, and then he has written a report and returned the report. So this thing is already showing the true power of Manus. Now, another thing that I was able to generate is a game. I actually ended up tasking Manus to generate a full game for me. This is how it started. Initially, I generated the game, and I thought it wasn't working properly because, you see, the mistake that I did was when I went into the downloader, I downloaded files by file, and then I tried to put them back together myself because I wasn't yet aware that there's something that you can do with Manus where you can actually jump into the session, access the VS Code environment, and run the application directly from there. And you can even generate a link to run the application. So I wasn't aware of that yet. But then the game that I was able to generate for me was this game, which is a cyberpunk game taking place in futuristic Tokyo. I know you can't see it right now, but this is the building blocks that I was building in order to get to the point where I can have a fully working game that kind of looks like this. So what is incredible is that the Manus was able to take me from, general idea to this result right here. And then I went into Sora and I uploaded the video, and then I did a remix with Sora to generate a version of how the game will look like when it's done, because I wanted to take that screenshot and send it back to Manus so that he can have an idea of how to improve the game, what we're working toward, essentially. And you can do that really easily with Sora. Just upload the file, remix it, and it'll generate a new version of it. And then I've seen some pretty incredible thing online. And this is just like, this is barely anything. It could have done something much more impressive than that. All right. So let me tell you a little bit more about Manus. Manus stands for hands in Latin. This is pretty much it meant. It's just like a secondary hand for you that is doing a lot of things for you, right? So now a lot of people have compared it to Deep Research by Perplexity and OpenAI. But it's not actually the same thing. It's a little bit different because, you see, Manus can do a little bit more stuff. When you're thinking about deep research, what it's doing is essentially gathering the information, planning the research, and performing a research task. But what Manus is actually doing is all of the above, but then it can execute on that research. And that's where it is very impressive, because it can take that research, for example, write the code for those features, and deploy a working prototype, all from a single prompt. And this is not something that you can currently do with deep research on Perplexity, on ChatGPT, on Grok. So this is something that is very specific to Manus to take you from prompt, I will say, to products, to fully working result directly. And it can deploy for you. So Manus is a bit more complicated than that. Another thing that I've noticed is that Manus has different way for you to give you the final output, right? So you can, since it's working inside a sandbox, it allows you to access that sandbox and access the code directly if you're generating code, or it also allows you to deploy something directly on a URL. So I've noticed that the VS Code sandbox usually are at manus.computer. The deployment files are usually at manus.space. And then when you're sharing something, you have a session link that is similar to that. So when people are asking you to share your Manus session, this is what they're talking about. If you just head over to share, I believe it's interesting. I can see it when I'm looking at someone else's project, but I can see it in my own account. So if I head over to, for example, Cyberpunk game, and I click share, this will be the link that you use in order to share a session. So yeah, so these are the permanent link that I've noticed that the Manus have. And at the end of the video, I'll show you ways you can use those permanent links in order to find different Manus projects. So for example, if you're looking for a trip in Italy or a trip to Spain, I can show you a way to find Manus session that people have generated that you can just, take advantage of. Instead of using your own credit and generating that yourself, you can just find them and use those sessions, right? Another thing that I've noticed is that Manus also has a pages.manus.im link, which I believe is for direct access to documents. And the way it looks like is something like this. So you will end up on a page kind of like this that looks more like a document, while the Manus space will be, again, a fully working project that is deployed for you. So this is something that someone built that is actually adding sound to every single element of the periodic table. So if you click on this, it's making different sounds as you click on it. This entire project was built with Manus. The individual who shared that also shared the full session that he used in order to generate that. And this is also something that I'll share in the description below if you're curious to try it. I know that when you're looking at different prompts, that can be a good inspiration for learning how to do prompt engineering on your own. As you can see, because Manus can do reasoning, deep research, computer use, and has an agentic workflow and can deploy, this is not just a wrapper. It's much more than that. What they've been able to do is to combine different workflow in order to improve the capability of what you can do with AI. And this is what is pretty impressive. It's how they put things together. So now, how does it work behind the scene, right? So Manus uses Claude 3.5 Sonnet from Anthropic. They also use their own fine-tuned version of Queen, which is a model from Alibaba. And they use Browser Use, which is an open source library that allows you to create things similar to Operator by ChatGPT. So things that will take control of your browser and this kind of agents, right? So browser agents. And they have a sandbox that is for the coding IDE that is using VS Code. So you can literally click on VS Code, it will access the sandbox, and you're able to just code directly from that sandbox. Now, since people found out that Manus was using browser use usage actually started increasing by a lot. So a lot of people are now being even more aware of the Manus effects, and then they're using browser use as well to build something similar. And there's a couple open source out there that are also using browser use in order to do something similar to ChatGPT Operator. Now here's the architecture of Manus. As you can see here, when a user makes a request, it goes to an executor agent. And that executor agent is using Claude 3.5 Sonnet. And then it gets access to the knowledge base. And then you get access to the knowledge base if there's any. And then it also has access to external tools. And once the executor agent figure out, what you're trying to do, is send everything to a planning agent that plans what needs to be done. And those are like the sub agents. And then an execution agent take care of executing the task inside the sandbox. And then there's a validation agent that just double check that, everything is working as plans and that the things kind of working together in order to finalize the work. And once the sandbox is completed and then your whole work is done, then it output everything to the user and let you know that your work is ready. Now, if you're asking Manus to generate you a zip file to deploy your application on the web, or to just return the files or report, it'll take care of all of that in the output. And this is what I also find very interesting, is that Manus has multiple type of output that it can give you. Anywhere from files to reports to links. How do we know how Manus works? Is because people actually been trying to figure out how it works, and then someone was able to jailbreak Manus using Manus itself by asking Manus to return the content of a file, essentially to tell it how it works. And this is how they found out that it was using Cloud Sonnet with 29 tools, and that it's using multi-agents, that it used browser use, and so on and so on. The founders of Manus actually jumped into the conversation to give more context into how Manus was actually built. And this is where it started to add a little bit more clarity into how it works behind the scene. And one thing that I've noticed throughout my research on Manus is that they are very open source friendly. So if you look at this co-founder previous projects, he actually has worked on a lot of open source projects that is made available for free to people. He also built his own version of O1 before called Steiner. So he has done some significant research into trying to understand how ChatGPT O1 works, and actually works significantly about it on his blog post. What's the inspiration of Manus, right? So the inspiration of Manus actually come from some of the work that Yi Chao was doing on his own model called Steiner, which is actually also inspired by something else, which I thought is really, really cool, because I'll never imagine that, that I'll go full circle with like Japanese anime to AI, right? So it's actually inspired by this Japanese anime called Steingate. And in Steingate, the main protagonist can retain memories across multiple word line. And then now pay attention to that, across multiple word line, because that's the inspiration of Manus, right? The ability to have an AI that can explore multiple reasoning paths. When Yi Chao was working on Steiner, this is what he was exploring, trying to recreate O1, trying to reverse engineer how it works, and he came up with something like this. And he has mentioned that some of their own model been actually used on some of the planning logic of Manus. And a lot of people have been saying that they don't have their own models, they've only used comprehensive model to do what they were able to do. But that's not entirely true, because they've actually built Steiner before building Manus. Some of their own model is inside of Manus itself. So now I'm going to show you how Manus works through my own account and show you what you can do with it. All right, so when you log into Manus, this is what you see. You see your dashboard, and you see a little like filter type where you want to search. You can upload files. And if you scroll down, you have access to a library of different generation template that you can just use to figure out what you can generate with Manus. This is super helpful if you don't want to use your credit right away, to have an idea of all the different use cases. And if you want to explore more, you can just click on use cases and access their use cases database over here to have an idea of what you can do with Manus. Now, when you start typing something, and I'm not going to type anything because I believe I've ran out of usage, so I don't want to type anything, because even people that got access don't have as many usage as you will think. Think about all the research it's doing, right? It's not free behind the scene, they're paying for it. So we only get a few number of requests per day. This is a game that I was able to generate that I mentioned earlier. This is the Cyberpunk game. So first, I tried to generate like a city that had neon billboard. So I sent it this text so that he was able to generate it. So I want to show you the different components that you see once he generates something. So one of the things that you notice is that you can actually share the link. You can make it viewable to only you, or create a public access for people to view it. You can also access all of the document over here. So you can either see all the documents that were generated, including some of the research that were generated with it. You can see the code file and links and so on. And I've been talking with the Manus team, and one of the things that they're going to add here is a way to download all of that as zip file, and maybe even a way to separate a document that was generated during the research versus document for your own output. Because right now it's a bit confusing. So they're working on it right now, and this is something that they might add. When you click on one of those items, you can actually have a preview of it. If you preview it, it will just open it on the right-hand side. You can actually access it directly. I don't think you can type. You see, cannot edit because this is in read-only mode. But if you want to access the sandbox, what you can do is scroll all the way down, click over here, because this is where you get access to Manus Computer. And once you have access to Manus Computer, you can head over here and click on VS Code to view it in VS Code, or click Browser to open the browser use mode. So let's see how it happens when I click browser first. So you can see here that it's opening the browser. So I have access to a full-on browser here, which the machine actually have access to. And this is inside of Manus computer. And each session has their own sandbox. So this is the sandbox within my current session. So no other session that I have is aware of the context of this sandbox. So now I can exit the takeover and I can head over here and click VS Code. So this is an application that I built. So I can access the sandbox and look at VS Code. And you can see over here that there's a folder with all the files that I've generated. And if you're familiar with VS Code, you should be right at home. So you have a terminal, so you can actually navigate inside of the folder yourself. You have access to all the file right there. So your package.json, for example. Is there a package.json here? Let's see. There's none. So if there's a package.json, then you can just run it here. It looks like didn't generate one for this one. I can look at the README, just like I will do it on VS Code. You know, I can see what's happening right here, the instruction, you know, how it works. And you can even start the server yourself by doing npm start, like if it was, you know, a server. So yes, you have access to everything. And don't forget that because it's VS Code, you also have access to the browser feature because it comes with a browser. So you can actually run the application and run it here, or you can access it directly from the link that it generates when you do npm start, and it's going to create a proxy between your local machine and the server. So another thing that is super helpful is that you can actually download the project directly here by clicking download and saving that directly in your machine. So if you are generating an application and you're wondering like, how can I download this really quickly? Well, if they don't yet have the download zip feature, and you want to do it directly from VS Code, you can just head over here and click download zip code and have it downloaded on your machine directly. So this is another way for you to use it. Now, if I head back over here, I can close that. Now I'm going to tell you about some of the things that I've noticed with Manus. So you notice that sometime when using Manus, you'll get some of these errors. You get something like high system load has caused an internal server error. And when you're getting this, all you have to do is essentially just contact support or go into the Discord if you have access and then let them know of those issues. That's what I've personally been doing. And then sometime the computer might just get stuck, right? So like the computer won't be able to move or anything like that. So what you can just do is type reset computer and it will restart the Manus computer and allow you to keep using it. So I had this issue earlier where the computer stopped working. So I had to tap reset computer in order to get it to start again, right? And sometimes you'll just reach out of your maximum daily limit. And there's nothing you can do about it. All you have to do is wait. And what I've been doing whenever that happens is typing continue. Because one thing that you have to know is that the session of this chat is different from the session that happened inside of the computer. So as the computer is running, you can still communicate with Manus and ask it question as it's generating the code. So unlike on deep research, so unlike on OpenAI or Anthropics or Grok, you know, or DeepSeek, you don't have to wait for it to finish doing its thing. You can just communicate with Manus as it's doing its task because it's a multi-agent platform. So another agent is taking care of executing your task. So you can still communicate with the executioner and ask it question about what's going on. Like, are you done? Are you stuck? What's going on? Can you make a modification? Can you do X? Can you do Y or Z? So this is something super helpful to know. Now, there'll be moments where as you're working on the session, you'll run out of context, right? You'll get something saying that the contest session is a little bit too long right now, and it won't allow you to essentially, so you get something like this right here. So you get something like this. So Manus performance may decline with extremely long context. So the two options that you're given when that happens is to start a new session. But right now, as the time of testing this, it doesn't preserve the context of that session. So if you click start a new session, it won't preserve that context. So one workaround that I found is that you can actually copy the session that you were working on. So I can just head over here, copy the link, and inside of the new session, I can just paste it. And Manus will be smart enough to visit the link, learn about the projects, and continue from there. And that's pretty incredible. So this is something super helpful that I've been able to do if you wanted to continue the context. But I've been talking with the Manus team, and they're actually working on a solution for that, where when a session becomes too long, the next session can actually preserve the context. And in a way, because Manus uses memory, it is preserving the context of that session through its memory feature. And this is what I'm about to show you right now. So if you look at the bottom left corner over here, you'll notice that there's a feedback button to provide some feedback to Manus. There's an official website to send you back to their website, and there's a knowledge button. So if you click that, you get access to the knowledge section of the site, where you can see the different knowledge that is collected for different projects that you're working on. And you can actually modify some of those knowledge base if you want to add additional stuff. Now, sometimes Manus will recommend you to add different knowledge by adding a little pending at the top of the page. And all you have to do is click there and confirm that you want to add that knowledge to your knowledge base. Now, there might be some instances where you want to add custom knowledge yourself. So you just have to add new knowledge and type what you want to add and what kind of knowledge you want Manus to be aware of. And obviously, if you don't want Manus to remember a specific knowledge, all you have to do is go over here and click disable, and it won't take that knowledge into context when thinking about what it's doing for you. Now, this knowledge live across multiple sessions. It's not session specific, it's across your entire Manus account. So whatever you put here, Manus is aware of this context when doing things for you. This is why Manus get better the more you use it, because it get to know the way you use Manus more and more based on this memory that is getting and saving about your usage of Manus. And then finally, over there, you have the setting button where you can select the language. Right now they have Dutch, English, Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, Mandarin Chinese, Cantonese, Japanese, and Korean. So right now, this is the language that you have access to. And you have also the different appearance mode that you can change. And you have a way to edit your profile, which will just allow you to edit your name. And you have a way to contact the Manus team, which will send you back to the feedback page. Now, you can add things to your favorite on Manus by just clicking this button right here. And then what it'll do is adding that thing at the top of your thread right here and making it available for you inside of your favorite. And if you want to remove it, all you have to do is click remove from favorite. And then if you want to search through your thread, you can just search through your session and it'll look for it over here. So as you can see here, I had a session that I left off and I wanted it to continue from there. So I copied the link, pasted it there, and Manus was able to analyze the session, go through it, click through the element, get the full context, and continue the work that he was doing from there. So it's a very, very powerful way to use it if you want to continue from a previous session. If you click over here, you can see all the different tasks in progress, what he has achieved, where he got stuck. You get some context about why he stopped. And as I mentioned, you can literally just ask Manus about it. Communicating inside of a session is different from creating new thread. So I can head over here and say, why did you stop? And it will respond to me even if I don't have credit to create a new session. So right now, for example, I'm not able to create a new session, but Manus is still able to continue within the context of my current session, and I can communicate with it, and it can actually analyze what's going on and get back to me and maybe even continue the work that it was doing within that session. So right here, it says, I apologize for the confusion. I didn't intentionally stop. I was responding to your reset computer message, thinking you wanted to pause the work. Let me continue implementing the MetaHuman animation. So if you guys want to learn more about Manus, you can join the AI Founders Club community and head over Classroom. I created a course called Manus, where I cover a different point from Manus. I give you different tips and tricks that I discover, what to do when the context is too long. And also I document some of my experiments that I'm sharing with you. So you have access to my session link and the exact prompt that I use in order to create those different experiments. And also you have some of the latest news from the Discord. Since I'm a beta tester, I have access to the Discord and I'm aware of the new feature that are coming in. So whenever I discover something new, then I just post it directly inside of this community. And if you want to figure out how to get an invite, inside of the community, I explain exactly how you can get your invite. I'm sharing how I got mine. And as you can see, some people were able to follow some of my tips and they were able to get a Manus invite as well. Now, for every private or paid products, there's always an open source alternative. And in the case of Manus, that open source alternative is Open Manus. This thing been trending over the web. It already has about 32,000 stars. And this is a really good alternative to Manus. You can take a look over on GitHub. I'll put a link on the description below. If you're curious to use something like Manus because you don't have an invite code yet, start playing with the open source version and see how it works. Some of you guys might wonder how much Manus will cost. We don't know yet the pricing of Manus, but it was estimated that it will cost about $2 per task. So that might give you an idea of what you might be paying once they finally have a pricing model. But right now, as it is, it doesn't actually cost anything. So all of the experiments that I've been able to run with it were actually free because I believe the team is paying for it. Since they're using alternative model like Anthropic and Cloud and so on, they're the one currently paying for it. I don't know how long it will last, but right now this is how it's working. And this is probably why there's a limit on how many people can actually join, because all of that is, obviously coming from their pocket. Okay, so quickly wanted to show you how you can use the Manus URL to find Manus projects on Google. All you have to do is type site:/manus.space, and that will allow you to find different projects that people are working on. For example, right now we have Quantum Computing Learning Hub. So if I click here, it sends me to a result. So this is a page that was built by Manus. So someone used Manus to build that, and it was deployed on manus.space. So you can have access to this project just by searching it this way. Now, if you want to have access to an entire session, what you can do is search for manus.im/share, and you'll be able to find some project that people have shared on social media. So for example, right here, we see SEO audit and optimization report for Caparchi's website. So you can click here and it will open it directly on Manus. You can see that this is an entire session that you can see, and you have access to the computer over here. And then, yeah, so you cannot access the sandbox, but you can see the prompt and what kind of result it was able to generate. And finally, another way to do that is if you're looking for something specific, you can just type it. So for example, I wanted to find a trip to Japan. So I found this 7-day Japan itinerary with proposal ideas. So someone generated that. So I can review the session, skip to result, and I can see the itinerary directly over here. You can do that with different places. So for example, if someone did that for Paris, no one has done that yet. Maybe Italy, or here. So I can find things that people have generated for those trips, right? So you can also find what people have searched related to Manus, right? If you wanted to do research on Manus, for example, you can just type Manus and find it. So this is a quick little tip to find content related to Manus and also find projects that people have created. And there's a ton of projects, as you can see, because people are sharing that on social media or on their website or all over the web, in articles. So you can find some pretty cool projects being shared, created by people using Manus. So, all right. So yeah, so this is pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure to check one of those videos right here. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.